Hi, good morning. I'm Sherry Scott with Springhouse Collaborative, and we are building a group here of people that are interested in the custom home building industry. And hopefully, you're thinking about or in the middle of creating your own home. And I want to help you create a home that you love. Today, because of what's happening, certainly around here with all of the snow and in Texas with the rolling blackouts and problems that they're having, I wanted to talk a little bit about energy efficiency. I want to talk about it specifically, like what that might mean to your own custom home, because it's it's something that you need to define for yourself. It's something that is a priority. Um, whether it's a high priority or a low priority, I want you to know that before you go into the process, because once the house gets designed, and especially once you detail all of the information and write the specifications, then it's really hard to go backwards and catch back up. So if you can, what I'd like to get you to do is to define your level of priority for energy efficiency in your home before you start. Um, this is all the way I see it. I've worked with lots of people. A lot of people come in and they have different levels of priority for energy efficiency, and I am happy to lead my clients through whatever level they're at. So I see it personally as three different levels. Clients come in and they don't really bring it up. They don't really, it's not a topic, it's not a high priority for them. So basically, we are at the first level, which is code minimum. The energy codes have changed significantly over the last, boy, for sure the last 10 years, and significantly even over the last 2 years. There was a big energy code revision that happened, and there's another one coming in 2 years. So it's code minimums are no joke, and I am completely comfortable designing a home to a code minimum. Code minimums are things like they here in zone 5, which we are in Dayton, Ohio. It's not too far north of here, still in Ohio, that you get to a zone 6. And I think the US goes up to a zone 8. And it gets colder as you go up. So at here in zone 5, our ceiling minimum is R38. That's it's good. It's a good number. Just up in zone 6, you go up to an R49. So there are advantages to the R values. R values are the insulation value. The higher, the better with R value. You might also see a U value, which is the inverse of R. So that's that can get a little bit confusing, but those are the two options of how we rate insulation. So code minimum. The second level, which is where most of my clients fall, and we'll come back to it, is kind of a hybrid, picking and choosing. Of course, you have to get to code minimum, but then there are other things that are, you have different impacts, right? You have energy impact, you have financial impact, you have um, how you want to live, how you want your house to feel, those things. And then third would be like certified levels, right? Where you're getting to net zero, where you're doing calculations or you are applying for a gold level, silver level, bronze level of LEED. There are a couple of different, there's Energy Star out there. There's a couple of different governing agencies that can give you a certificate, basically. Um, and those are great. So for level threes, anyone that wants to be certified, I I love working through all of that process, but I do not stay current. I am not LEED certified. I believe in all of those things, and I think they have great track records, great ways to get you their prescriptive. So they tell you you have to do this, this, and this, and then you get this number or this certificate. I think it's all good, but you need a specialist. So you can use any architect, you can use any builder to do any of those certified levels. You just bring in a guide. You pay a specialist that is all they do. You pay somebody to come in the very beginning when you're sitting down at the table and talking about what's important to you. Once you know what level you're at, bring in that guide. So those are the three kind of you start just to get people in a slot to decide what your priority is. One would be code minimum, and that is not derogatory. There's nothing wrong with that. Number two would be some kind of hybrid, and number three is like a certified level of some kind of process that you go through and calculations. So let's skip back up to level two because that's where most of my clients are. Most of my clients come in and they say, we're really interested in net zero. And through more investigation, it's not that they necessarily want that certificate. They don't want to, tour people through their houses and say, we did this air exchanger and we don't have a dryer in our home and we have very minimal windows and they all face a certain orientation. Most people don't mean that when they say they want to get to net zero. What they mean is they want to be very energy efficient. They want to produce some energy so that they can replace what they're using. And I think that's great. I think that is smart. And there are a lot of really good systems out there now that you can combine and pick and choose the best things that are most important to you. So a couple of those things that we would sit down and say, these are options and these are the price tags attached to those options. Number one is insulation. Insulation, everyone understands it. Everyone knows you need it, especially right now. It's fascinating to me. 24 hours after a snowfall, drive around an older neighborhood and look at the roof lines. It's amazing to me to go through and you can see one house will be, you can tell they put in some new insulation, and then the next house next to it will have a very thin layer of snow or no snow at all. Or you can even sometimes see like the rafter lines where the heat that's escaping their house, they're paying to heat their home just like their neighbor, but all of their heat is escaping, melting the snow, which gets you into a whole other problem with snow melting on the roof with ice dams and then water leaking, and it's a whole thing, right? Which I'm sorry, Texas, I'm sure you're going through all of those problems because Texas code minimums are designed for their climate. And they haven't done anything wrong. It's not like everybody builds cheap in Texas. It's their code is for not for this once in a lifetime storm. Their code is for every single year and what's the most economical and reasonable to build. So they're not, I just wanted to say they're not doing anything wrong. It's just a really bad circumstance that they need to get through. So insulation, we talk about ceiling insulation. That's probably the easiest and least expensive place to bulk up your insulation value. One that is not new, but most people don't know about is it's called flash and bat. The flash of it is you spray foam insulation. If you do 2x6 walls, you do 2 inches of spray foam insulation, and then you do bat insulation on top of that. Gives you the best of both worlds. The flash spray insulation seals everything and it's a really high R value. And then the bat insulation goes on so you can still run wiring and you can still put boxes in the walls. And it's a friendlier way to do it. Spray insulation is very expensive, so only doing a 2-inch layer is less expensive than filling the entire cavity. And like I said, there are, later construction issues of running wires and changing things. It's easier to do with bat insulation. So that's my second recommendation if you're going to up your game in insulation is do a flash and bat system. And this is one that most people don't take me up on. When I'm doing a house, I always try to explain the importance of insulation under your slab. insulation under your basement slab. So basement, or if you're doing a slab house, which we don't do too often around here. The just the theory of it is ground temperature is always at 50 degrees. Always. It just is a constant temperature, right? So that 50 degrees is your slab that you're touching. People talk about a cold slab, and slabs can be cold. It's not because of the temperature outside, it's because of that constant ground temperature being at 50. And you can imagine if the temperature down here is at 50, and then you have your gravel, you have your slab, you have your home temperature at 70, somewhere in between there is it's finding its normal. So at 70, then it keeps getting colder, 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 colder till it meets 50. So that 50 degrees is a constant suck on your home room temperature. It's just constantly draining heat out, draining it out, draining it out. So just putting a 2-inch rigid insulation under the slab is going to stop that. It's going to keep it's going to keep more heat on the top side and keep more cold on the bottom side under, the ground. You're not going to heat the earth forever. So that's a big recommendation that I make, that it's not super expensive. I want to say it's a few $1,000s, which if you're fighting for every single dollar building your custom home, yes, then that goes. But it's an investment, and insulation is certainly an investment that you put in once and hopefully never have to touch again. So I recommend that. That's an easy fix, and it makes your house much more comfortable. Secondly, I would talk about materials, exterior materials especially. EIFS is a exterior insulation finish system, which an acronym for that. So it is, you'll see it when you go past construction sites, or you might have it on your home, where they do rigid insulation. It looks like they just put sheets of rigid insulation up on the side of your house, and then they stucco over it. That's a great system because it's a continuous barrier. If you think of your stud walls, you have studs every 16 inches. That stud is a bridge for thermal transmission, and that means your heat is going from inside your house to outside of your house. Walls are not a huge heat loss place, but if you've already addressed the ceiling attic space, then the walls are a good second place to manage that with exterior materials. Windows are another thing. Research your windows. There are so many products out there, so many products that there's top 4, 5, 6 products that are pretty equal. And then once you get below those, they drop significantly in R value. So make sure that you are making smart decisions. If you have to cut corners somewhere, to cut costs, to value engineer your house to get it to the price point that you need, which is most of my clients, right? At some point, we need to value engineer something. Windows is something we take a really hard look at because it's a big number. And it's a balancing act. Do you save money now and sacrifice the R value for over the long term, or do you put the money in? And I absolutely get it. I get so frustrated myself with people in this industry that are like, well, you should invest in your house, and you should, but I understand that it's a balancing act, and it is pros and cons, and I just ask you to take your time, look at the windows, research them. It's not just what they look at and what color they come in, but what their insulation value is, and that's readily available information on Google. Super simple. The third thing that we talk about are systems. Systems like your water heater. Your water heater wastes a lot of energy just keeping water hot all the time. Another system is geothermal. Geothermal, the government is up and down and back and forth about whether they do the tax credits or not. So research that, know your deadlines. Um, Sometimes they end at the end of the year and your whole system has to be in. Your house doesn't have to be done, but your system has to be in for you to get that tax credit. And if that tax credit goes away, then, and you miss that deadline, then the geothermal system is, it's, it's, um, it's more of a decision. If you don't have the tax credit, you don't get money. You really never recoup that money. It may be 25, 30 years before you recoup that money, and we don't have studies um, that long to know what the costs are, the maintenance costs, and any bulk study anyway. So just be careful with geothermal. I think it's an excellent system. You can use that tempered water for lots of different things around your house. Not just for your forced air heat. So it's a great system. Just do your research about the government subsidy to make sure that you're going to qualify for that. The other thing that a lot of our clients are going toward is solar, which is I'm following the thing in Texas pretty closely because my dad lives there, and I think it's kind of it's not funny, but it kind of is sometimes. So solar, of course, it doesn't work when when snow is on top of the panels, right? There's lots of times, especially in Ohio, solar is kind of dicey. Most of the people that I know that go with solar are doing it for environmental factors. Like they want to produce energy for their home that they're using, and it's more of a net zero question than a this is the best thing since sliced bread solution. So I think systems are great. Again, do your research, get specialists in. You need to sit at a table. Hopefully, if you're working with an architect, working through things, they can bring in the specialists, and you can all hammer out all of the details, see what's important to you, see what's right for you. Energy efficiency is it's a big topic. I've just brushed the surface with the things that I talk to clients about and things that we specify in our drawings, and particularly now that we are building also. It's all part of the process, and you need to get those priorities in line before you design and before you work through all of the detailing of your construction documents. Okay, so I hope you all stay warm out there. Again, I'm Sherry Scott with Springhouse Collaborative, and if you know anybody in the construction, in the process of doing a custom home, or they're thinking about it, or if you're thinking about it, invite them here. I'd love to answer questions, and let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if this was helpful. I see Ken Felino. Hi, good morning. And I will talk to you all next week. Thank you.